Okay, Miss Arnold, we are back with our interview series. It is Thursday, November 10th, 2022, and I understand y'all have a big event coming up, a gala coming up on Saturday. Could you talk to me about that gala and what you're looking forward to most?
Yes, we're happy to be bringing Broadway to Oklahoma City at our gala. That is our theme. And we're very excited about Michael D. Dinwiddie, a playwright that was born and raised in Oklahoma that I discovered not long ago in Detroit at a conference. And we're also going to be celebrating Erin Clemens, who was Mrs. Hamilton in the Broadway show Hamilton. Those are our celebrity guests. And of course, we have others who have achieved in their respective fields of the arts, education, or history. And I just like to read for you um, looking forward type letter that I wrote to the audience that will be in attendance at the gala. Um, and it kind of goes like this. It's called Looking Forward. Thanks for joining us this evening as we recognize and honor fellow Oklahomans who are at the pinnacle of success in their respective fields of arts, history, or education. Oklahoma matters to them, though they are new to us as national, international, or even local role models who are part of our history. BLAC Incorporated considers it a pleasure to have them with us, especially because of the number of young people in our audience who are part of our mission statement. After all, BLAC Incorporated's mission is to use the vehicle of fine arts to provide the total community of Oklahoma with an exposure in the African American Black culture, with a special emphasis on educating Oklahoma's youth. You honor us with your presence. A few years ago, upon the expiration of its 50th anniversary, excuse me, let me start that
Take
over.
your time.
A few years ago, upon the expiration of its 50-year life cycle, BLAC Incorporated renewed its incorporation papers into perpetuity. Going forward, the institution can only live for future generations with continued support from our community. BLAC Incorporated is committed to providing services that positively impact all people and hopefully being relevant for years to come. This year, 2022, BLAC Incorporated reached out to the military to provide programs inclusive of their present needs to honor and cherish them for their service to America. With the launch of this special population of underserved among us, BLAC Incorporated is making new discoveries in arts and education, from visual arts to poetry to music, as evident by poet Cheryl Craig White, who is with us. The military is represented well on our board with Ezekiel Jenkins, Erica Alberta, and Keith Hardiman. BLAC Incorporated celebrates that collaboration tonight as we move forward. Frederick A. Douglass High School and the feeder school, F.D. Moon Middle School, are partners and fellow collaborators in the developing Oklahoma City film industry. Our most recent partnership with Oklahoma City Public Schools is set to pave the way for Frederick A. Douglass High School to really, and F.D. Moon, to really let their light shine in the community as a filmmaking and video productions center. Classes are being taught by I can't pronounce his first name.
Let's see.
Dr. Riggins is what I call him.
DeCoven. Oh, I know him.
DeCoven, is that his first name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. it is such a small world. DeCoven. Okay.
Yes. Classes are being taught now by Dr. DeCoven Riggins, a Douglas High School graduate. Oh, Lordy.
It's good that you're practicing this now, huh?
Yeah, right. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to put it in the book.
Oh, you're not saying this at the event?
I might say it in pieces here and there, just as we go through the program.
Yeah.
But not like that.
Oh, okay.
This is more or less kind of like a report.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so, let me pick up. Classes are being taught now by Dr. DeCoven Riggins, a Douglas graduate, and Marcus E. Brown, both of Notice Studios in Oklahoma City. Their partnership will engage adults, youth, organizations, and those who make movies, documentaries, and short films. We anticipate a season that will kick off with a performance by Ailey 2, perhaps as soon as February, so stay tuned. This is our plan and we're sticking with it.
There was a lot to unpack there. First of all, the fine arts and education stood out the most, but also the military.
Yes.
And the collaboration with the military and Black Ink. Can you talk a little bit further about that? Because that stood out to me when you were reading that.
That is our newest partnership and collaborative effort. BLAC Incorporated is all about collaborations and partnerships, and we're just full of that over the 50 years and even right now. But recently, last year in 2021, we were awarded a grant by the Oklahoma Arts Council to provide services to the military because they're often overlooked, particularly where this kind of programming is concerned. And so we agreed to do that, and it turned out wonderfully well. So well that this year they were kind enough to give us another grant to provide, artistic services, educational and history. And that will include a number of things. And we'll have a couple of our board members to head up that project who are presently in the military or just recently retired from the military. We were pleased. BLAC Incorporated was pleased last year or earlier this year. I say last year, fiscal year, so in my mind here. Back up in June, I'll put it that way. We did our first military program, and it was very engaging. We discovered a person who was in the military that had all kinds of wonderful artifacts that he had kept, while he was serving. And I really had never heard of Black comic books, but he had a collection of Black comic books among other things that he left for his daughter and family. And we were able to put an exhibit together. And one of our board members knew personally a lady who had just retired from the military, and she is a wonderful poet. In fact, she was so good, the Arts Council wanted to know more, and I don't know what they've worked out yet, but don't be surprised if you see her on the touring program.
Wow.
That's a statewide program.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of benefits associated with providing services to our community, particularly those that are overlooked and underserved.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it.
I guess I just think about, when you think about the military community being overlooked, thinking about how art can help you process emotions and process your feelings and stuff like that. So in my head, I'm just envisioning creating a space where these military workers can engage with something that helps them kind of process what they're experiencing as they're fighting for our country.
That's right, and we intend to do that. We're partnering with the National Association of Black Veterans,
Oh.
and they're located right here in Oklahoma City, one of their chapters. And so through them, because they provide so many services that we don't even know about, to serve these military people when they retire from whatever branch of service that they served in. So it's quite exciting because there are so many opportunities where we can plug in. And as a matter of fact, when I spoke of their history a little bit, a friend of mine down in San Antonio has written some plays, and one of them, which is known nationally, is called Camp Logan. And it was about the World War I experience of African American soldiers who were anxious to get in the war to prove that we were as good as anybody else and that we could hold our own in the military. And the play is so gripping. It's the truth. It tells the story of these soldiers who looked so forward to going and serving in World War I, and they were brought to Camp Logan to go through special exercises, that sort of thing, to this black unit that was going to be serving. And they took all kinds of grief from town people there in Texas while they were waiting, and they were keeping a stiff upper lip and turning the other cheek and not responding when people spat on them or denied them or did mean things to them. And then at the very end, when they thought they were going, they received word, from the Army that they would not be going. And it was so disappointing to the soldiers that when they went into town that night after receiving the news and people started to taunt them, they retaliated. And they called it a riot in the military. And practically all of them were hanged down there in San Antonio, I believe is yes, San
This
Antonio.
is a true story?
Yes. And we brought that here twice.
Wow.
And it was an eye-opener for a lot of people. I mean, some people, it was such an emotional presentation, but based on actual facts. In fact, Celeste Bedford Walker is the lady who wrote the play because her father served in that unit.
Wow.
And she had to go through Congress and all kinds of red tape to get access to the information. She finally got it through the Freedom of Information Act, and that's when she wrote the play. But this is their history. This is our history that we know nothing of, but it happened.
Wow.
And so we're excited, about this, serving the military and bringing their history forward and providing education and all kinds of opportunities to address their needs.
Well, and after talking about that story, telling me about that story, it kind of does bring up this idea that Black soldiers have served in every war on American soil. I mean, it was a Black man who died first. Yeah.
That's right.
Crispus Attucks died first in the American Revolutionary War.
Right.
And so
we're in talks right now. COVID has slowed us down, because I wanted to bring Camp Logan back a year or two ago, but COVID happened, and so that caused us to put the brakes on a lot of things. And so as soon as, the company in Texas is ready to tour it again, we want to be first on the list.
Yeah.
And so we want to tell the story of the military
Yeah.
through some of our productions and presentations that we make
Yeah.
through the theater.
I really love that because you're absolutely right. Black soldiers are definitely an underrated, understudied group of folks. And so, yeah, I would have never put that together. This collaboration with Black Ink and the military. So that's really wonderful.
Well, it is wonderful and exciting to us because we never thought we would, see our funding agencies here locally step up to the plate and say, look, we've got to do something for the military. And so that came as welcome news to us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you mentioned as far as looking forward is the idea of art education and working with schools. I know you are an alumni of Douglas High School, so that must be really special to you for you to be heading up this organization and in collaboration with Douglas High School, which I know is super dear to you. But can you talk about like kind of Black Ink's role with these schools in Oklahoma City?
Yes, I can. Could you?
So yeah, can you kind of talk about like how Black Ink collaborates with these schools and the type of programming that you do?
Yes, Black Incorporated has been in a partnership with the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. with Oklahoma City Public Schools, the district. It's a district-wide partnership. And what the Kennedy Center provides us with is this arts integration. A lot of people talk about it, but we were Black Incorporated with Oklahoma City Public Schools brought arts integration to Oklahoma, not Oklahoma City, to Oklahoma in 1995.
Wow.
And we're known as the Oklahoma 1995 team. And so the team is made up of an arts partner and an education partner.
Okay.
Black Liberated Arts Center is the arts partner. We were selected out of 53 applicants nationwide the year we were selected. And so there was a great deal of excitement in the district at that time because they had not yet founded the Class and Advanced Studies School. They had not, brought Wilson up from the ashes to the top. Wilson School was a struggling elementary school that everybody had forgotten about. I mean, even though they had some illustrious graduates from over there at Wilson, they just left and didn't look back. We came in with a partnership and there was a decision made to do an essay contest around the district to find out if this really worked. The essay contest would select, those looking at the essays would select the winning school, the school that said why we should start with their school. So Wilson School won the contest. And so we started right away over there at the elementary school level and proved the arts integration concept here in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
It worked wonderfully well. Those throwaway children, as they were sort of known at that time, were suddenly at a scholarly level. I mean, they were scoring high on these tests, and before you couldn't even find them in the ashes. They were so far below the minimum.
Yeah.
And it raised such a stir, like in the community. They noticed. And those parents who had sent their children to private schools suddenly found themselves standing in line at Wilson School to get their children into that school.
Wow.
It's not a private school, but it's a neighborhood school that has flourished and flourished. And Black Incorporated brought that to Oklahoma City. For a long time, some people just didn't understand the partnership, and they kept asking, well, what does Black have to do with it? And the principal, one of the principals said, well, everything. They didn't know what everything meant. And so over a period of years, we've gained the respect and confidence of the neighbors around. But the school itself has a reputation that's nationally recognized and known. In fact, it was when President Obama was in office that one of the classroom teachers received a call from the White House and wanted to, and did in fact, invite and pay for the teacher to come up to DC and sit with the First Lady in the State of the Union address. And then we were all excited about that. We thought that was a big deal. But then I was at the Kennedy Center annual meeting at the same time that and I didn't even know, because they told her she couldn't tell anybody. And so they flew her there, and after she got there, then they told her that she could tell a couple of people. So I was one of the couple of people she could tell. So she came over to the meeting, at the Kennedy Center, and I had let the manager of the conference know that she had just come from the White House, meeting with the president. And so they were just thrilled. She got a standing ovation.
Oh my God.
At the Kennedy Center, and great recognition for the state of Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
And it was that same, after the visit at the White House, they told her, oh no, we're not through with you yet. And they sent her over to the U.S. Department of Education, and they said, we want to know how you did this, because we're looking at Georgia and Oklahoma as possible models for the nation in education. So she went over, she met the Arnie Duncan, I'll just call his name, Arnie Duncan, who was then over the U.S. Department of Education, and he told her that he wanted her to come back because he wanted to do an extensive interview with her about how that worked. She went back. They were delighted at everything that she said, and she told the truth, and it was great. I saw her interview with the Secretary of Education, and so he went back after she left, and he sent that interview to every state in the union, to their Department of Education, and said, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
They sent it to Oklahoma. Unfortunately, Oklahoma acted as if nothing ever happened. And so that's the good and the bad of the work history that we've done. We're still members, and the way the Kennedy Center works on their partnerships, there can only be one arts partner and one education partner. So it's not like everybody in town can, you can plug in some kind of ways, but you're not a partner. There are only two partners, and we've been partners with the Kennedy Center with Oklahoma City Public School District since 1995. And it's only one partnership allowed to a city or a town. And it was 10 years later before the next one was selected from Oklahoma, and that's Enid. And they came in 2005, 10 years after we had basically paved the way.
So how did it work? I mean, how did the partnership with BLAC Inc. turn these throwaway kids, as you called them, in this throwaway school, around to this?
We started with the teachers. Okay. It has the concept in order to be very successful, and I think that should apply with any school. All of the teachers have to buy into it, because it's an effort by everybody in the school, all teachers, because the professional development training is going to be with the teachers. And what we discovered is if the teachers are right, the students will learn. And everything works out from there. And so the first principal that was the original principal, Beverly Story, who was the principal at Wilson School, met with her teachers, and she did not mince any words. She said, "This is what we're going to do." And so those of you who feel like this is too difficult, you don't want to do it, this is your moment to excuse yourself and go find another job.
Mm.
And so there were a couple of teachers that did in fact leave, but that's okay. She had 100% participation from the teachers. There was no mumbling and grumbling. Everybody bought into it. Sometimes that's kind of difficult in a school because, there's politics everywhere, and there are politics involved among the teachers, even with the principal. It's not always a happy camp.
Yeah.
And so that's the difficulty of it. And some people don't have the courage to just say we're going to be a one mind and we're going down this one path and we're not going to look to the left, we're not going to look to the right, we're going to just keep right on the path.
Mm-hmm.
But Wilson did that, and they are successful to this day.
And where is Wilson Elementary?
Northwest 21st and Walker on one side.
Okay.
And so many things have happened to that school and those children. Believe me, they've had experiences they never, and the parents and grandparents who have children, it's a neighborhood school.
Yeah.
But the neighbors have first choice, no question about it.
Mm.
And everybody else has to kind of wait in line and let's see.
Yeah.
So many companies, big companies, have just decorated the landscape over there,
Yeah.
and they didn't even have to ask for it. We just happened to be in the neighborhood, and we thought this would look good over here, so there you go.
Wow.
A whole landscaping crew, and it's a beautiful school. It's a beautiful school. So great things happen to you when you show evidence of greatness, if you can maneuver around the politics.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have asked me over the years, well, if that works so good and it does, why don't we have it all over the district? And I only have one answer. But for politics, it's open to any school in the district. And yes, once upon a time, we did a lot of work down at Douglas. Naturally, that's where I graduated from high school, right? And Douglas had fallen way down. And so the principal, we worked with the principal was on the path. And then there were things that happened. And there's always something happening, kind of like in our schools, whether it's elementary or high school. And one year, when the things were really unfolding negatively, the principal was attacked, by someone in the community that was related to someone on the staff, and was beat down in the parking lot. Yes.
Oh my God.
And so everything started unraveling.
Oh,
And so one thing led to another, and the seniors down at Douglas were looking like they were not going to graduate that year.
Mm.
And I received a phone call from the superintendent, the state superintendent, wanting to meet with me to talk about Douglas. And so there was a meeting, and it turned out that there were other folk who came to the meeting that were, I think, kind of surprising to the superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
Some folk came armed with an attorney and that sort of thing.
Wow.
And it was quite an interesting meeting, that just kind of heard through the grapevine and stuff show up. But nevertheless, we got through the meeting, and so one of the ministers in the community who was at that meeting said, well, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? Why don't we just ask Ms. Arnold? She's known for that. Why don't we ask her what she can do in this situation? And my response was, these teachers already know. They just need to put into action what they know. And so they did. The new principal that came in, she didn't know what arts integration was or anything. These teachers knew because we had trained them. And so I think it was about 97% of the seniors graduated on time, and this was like between March and May. And so it works. It works even at Douglas High School.
Yeah.
And we've also used it at FD Moon. But it's a professional development program where you can use the arts to teach any subject in the curriculum. It's not that you're trying to raise little artists around here. Some people turn out to be artists. But in talking to some of the early students at Wilson School, they go into architecture, they go into teaching, they go into they go where their interests are, but they're prepared because it's a known fact by some people that music develops critical thinking skills in students. And so we've got something to fit everybody. And if you say, well, I can't imagine, it is kind of hard to imagine from somebody just sitting and talking about it. But let me just give you, for example.
Yes.
Let's say that you're having a problem in school with, let's say the elementary school, with math. There is a trainer who can teach math through music. After all, you do have those quarter notes, the half notes, and that's math. And so it's integrated, and they're having fun learning. And these are lessons that they will never forget because it's a part of them. They will remember forever. They're not like kids who go home for the summer and then they have to be refreshed because they forgot everything while they were out of school. Once you go through an arts integration class, a lesson, you'll remember that the rest of your life. You will not forget. And we proved that even with adults because one of the big supporters of that program early on was McDonald's Corporation. And McDonald's, they just, they couldn't fathom, what are you talking about, that kind of thing. So the principal said they had just, at Douglas, had just finished, with some training from one of the Kennedy Center trainers. And so she said, I'll make the presentation to McDonald's. So we arranged for her to make the presentation. And she got their attention right away by telling them that our children are not little hamburgers. That's not how we develop our children. And then she said, let me give you a quick lesson, which she did. She gave them a science lesson using Kennedy Center techniques and strategies. They never forgot it.
See, I'm a former science teacher, so I'm curious about that lesson.
Well, actually, I wasn't there when they had the lesson. I mean, there are so many schools, sometimes I find myself just running in, introducing myself, and then letting the candidates do what they do. But basically, they took a lesson, about icebergs and freezing, water, the water cycle. And so there are movements that go with it. You can even do that scientific lesson with dance, but you can do it with drama.
Yeah.
And you can divide the room up into parts, whatever the lesson is, you can have, and what we called it, and this goes back to when I was in school. When I first saw the lesson, I said, this is not new. And they said, what do you mean? I said, we had that in high school at Douglas.
Wow.
Back in the 50s. But the Kennedy Center had taken that concept, but we had it because there was a teacher by the name of Mrs. Tompkins, Consuelo V. Tompkins, and she taught drama, and she had uniquely a voice choir. And a voice choir is when you take the voices, you're not singing, you're speaking, and you divide whatever it is. If it's a poem, like Langston Hughes' poem, for example, or one of the other poems that we had, you divide it up, and the tenors, the sopranos, just like music, but you're speaking. So you're speaking the parts, and when you do that science, that's what you're doing, and you also tied in with movements, gestures, and all this. And so by the time you finish that lesson, you'll never forget it.
Right.
You'll forever remember that. And so that's the power of arts integration.
Wow.
A lot of people think is, you have children to dip their hands in some paint and they put it on a piece of paper. That's not arts integration.
Yeah.
And hang it on the wall. I mean, that's arts for art's sake.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that, what is thought of in some circles as arts integration, is not. It's not. It's arts enhancement. That's what they call it, in the industry. And so, but what the Kennedy Center offers, you're actually learning and you're going through, and the children love it.
Yeah.
You don't have to get them excited. They're excited.
On their own.
That's right, because they're engaged.
Yeah.
And the teachers, the ones that teach it, they will swear by it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And like arts integration grants are kind of big, especially in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Like I feel like so many people are getting these arts integration grants. And so to learn that Black Inc. is really like the OG of art integration grants.
That's correct.
And to really kind of see that play out. Wow. Like I've never really understood what art integration looked like in the classroom. So this was really helpful to make me kind of think about art, like drama, movement, and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of times
you can take any art genre and you can teach almost any. You can teach all subjects with one of those artistic forms. But you can teach anything using the arts, and that's real arts integration. There are a lot of folk who come close, but they're not there.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
So another thing, a collaboration that you talked about was film in Douglas High School. Is that new?
It is brand new.
Okay.
Suddenly, the city realized after many years of touching around on films, Hollywood folk who were in the industry were busy always looking for sites for movies and that sort of thing. And a couple of movies were filmed here. And they realized, well, my goodness, maybe we're onto something here, finally. And so, as it turns out, I'll call a name, Lance McDaniel, for example, has been doing filming and, film festivals around here for a long time. But even more importantly, I thought, was when I discovered that Gray Fredrickson. Gray Fredrickson is his name. He had been teaching out there at OOHRP for quite a while. And he's the producer of The Godfather.
Wait.
Yes. And
The Godfather?
The Godfather and Godfather 2.
What?
And
he's just teaching at OOHRP?
Yes.
Wow.
So we had these pieces of that for years, but nobody ever put them together. And so...
What was his name again?
Gray Fredrickson.
Gray Fredrickson.
And when I talked to him, yes, a long time ago, about Charlie Christian.
Yeah.
And he found it fascinating, fascinating. And he told me how much money, they had, and you have to have, money to fund this industry. And we talked about maybe doing a documentary, which was not as expensive. But people here, were really not in tune with, movie making and filming and all that. And so, but a couple of things happened in my mind as far as the history of filmmaking and all that. The Killing of the Flower Moon was filmed here in Oklahoma. And that actually, that's the truth. That movie is the truth, the whole truth, and it stayed on New York Times bestseller list for at least 2 years at the top of the list. Well, that was filmed here, and they showed it out, and I missed that out at OCU not too long ago.
Is that movie out? Has it been out?
It may be out in other cities, but I mean, it's Oklahoma history, but it'll, as one of my artists said when I gave him the book to read, he said it was a relief to finish it.
Wow.
Well, it engages you, but I mean, it's horrifying what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it
Because it's the Osage.
yes, it's the
Osage
history
tribe.
of the Osage Indians
Yeah.
in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It actually happened.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of Oklahomans would be horrified and say, that just didn't happen here. Yes, it did.
It's a lot of bad stuff that happened here.
That's right. But that was one of the most horrible books that I read. I mean, it's...
Okay, now I need to read it.
Yes, you do. You need to read that one. But then recently, there was a movie done here, and Sylvester Stallone was in the movie. Well, my understanding is that when that movie was made, 80% of the folk that they needed to make it came from somewhere else. Only 20% they were able to use here. So now, look for this to become quite a center for making movies, short films, documentaries, and all of that. But, the movie industry, they've touched on movies around here for a long time. Because I remember when my son, I only have one son, when he was in school at Pleasant Hill, there was a lady that lived over in Forest Park that was a movie star, and there were folk who came here to audition young people to play parts in movies then. So it's kind of been hidden beneath the surface, but now the cover's been pulled off.
For sure. I mean, Oklahoma is not a space where you think like movies are made, big movies are made, but the industry is definitely finding its way here because we have so much land. You can build any set you want. So with the arrival of the Green Pastures film school and studio, and then downtown it's Prairie Surf.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're definitely.
Yeah, but I'm talking about 50 years ago. They were around.
They were here even 50 years ago.
Yes, but it wasn't a well-known fact.
Yeah.
But I know because my son who is, you know, in journalism, a household name down in Dallas and around the state of Texas, he had a taste of that. 'Cause
Yeah.
he got so excited auditioning for parts. And,
Oh, wow.
that's right.
So what will your collaboration with DeCoven and I think Marcus at Douglas, what will your collaboration look like with them? Or
Well,
what do you envision it or hope it looks like with them?
well, first of all, I was interested because when you say documentaries and film and all that, I mean, that right there engages folk, you know, young folk, young adults, you know, folk that are getting ready to go out there. That's an engaging thing because that's the era we live in.
Yeah.
You know, it's all over TV. If you think a commercial, you think short films, all that, we can do all of that. Well, we've got some Kennedy Center trainers that can help with that too. And so we don't have a problem stepping in and being ancillary to everything else that's going on. Because some of when you say the Kennedy Center, I mean, hey, look, they're in and around all that business all the time.
Yeah.
They have everything.
Yeah.
You name it. And so we see many opportunities, you know, to help. And I was talking with both of those young men that are that are down there, not presently teaching. And I said, well, since FD Moon is a feeder school into Douglas, I said, have you thought about, or do you already have courses? I know you got at least a course that says Introduction to Filmmaking.
Yeah.
And he said, we're open to that. They actually don't. But, you know, we can help in so many ways here at Black Incorporated because we've been on a journey with the Kennedy Center. Their resources are our resources. Anything that they have, I can access.
Interesting.
Yes. And so that accounts for a continuing legacy of history, art, education, and all of the above. You know, people can't really fathom that too much, but it's absolutely the truth. And of course, when you say movies and education, for example, Jeffrey Canada, who was in the movie Waiting for Superman.
Yeah.
Well, we brought him here to Oklahoma and invited the teachers to come out and meet him and let him talk about his Harlem experience with kids that were basically throwaway kids. And so that's a memorable experience in our life too. And for those teachers, and that was one time when the State Department of Education did in fact show up and sit down in the seats.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of high moments in the history of Black Liberated Arts Center. We have many firsts.
Yeah.
I probably can name half of them and say, oh yeah, on the other half, and say, oh yeah, we did have somebody here. You know, we did bring Lady Senegal Ballet Company, you know, from Africa, from Senegal. And they were right out there at Midwest City High School. Wow. Yeah, we did.
Wow,
and so, of
that's
course, everything.
Super amazing.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, I said, now how many famous people do I know? And
Seriously?
No, really.
From all over the world?
From all over the world, yes, I have. And that's one thing I can remarkably say about my experience in having come here from corporate America. I have a whole wide world of people I have met.
From both the corporate real estate and now
Yes.
the art.
Yes.
So, okay, remind me, how long have you been the executive director running Black Ink?
Since 1993, I think.
Okay.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was before that, 1991.
Okay. So,
I-
3 decades.
Yeah,
you
oh,
have
yeah.
been. So, I mean, thinking about Black Ink prior to you stepping in, thinking about the 3 decades you've been running Black Ink,
Yeah.
what is your hope for the next 3 decades of Black Ink's legacy?
Well, I expect that Black ink should be standing tall in Oklahoma, finally. You know, when I say finally, I'm talking about, continuing to really, I would like to see Oklahoma embrace Black Incorporated instead of trying to hide the facts about Black Incorporated. When I say hide the facts, some of our journey has been so incredible to folks, it's just, I just can't believe that. And those things have been said to us. And I remember when we brought the Smithsonian Institute to Oklahoma City. They had been to Oklahoma, I think, in Tulsa maybe.
Yeah.
But they had never been to Oklahoma City. And we brought the Smithsonian Institute to Oklahoma City.
Wow.
It was a banner headline in the Oklahoman because they called and they said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Call them up and ask them." That's
Yeah.
what I did.
Yeah.
That's why I can make the statement. They told me, "Anita, we've never been to Oklahoma City." Well, here we go. Let's get this Duke Ellington exhibit here. The Genius of Duke Ellington,
Yeah.
Beyond Category. Yes, we did, out at the Omniplex, and it was there for a month.
Wow.
Oh, we've been doing excellent work, groundbreaking work, for years and years and years. And we hope to continue that legacy. But we must have the community support, because we must bridge all of those gaps.
Yeah.
And it has to look like a smooth path. It may not be a smooth path. It never is, when you're excelling and, achieving your full potential. And hopefully Black Incorporated will be a big part of the cease and desist on brain drain in Oklahoma. That's why folk go other places, because it's unnecessarily difficult.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this hard. It really does not have to be this hard, but it's complicated by the politics. And folk, even my mother, she said, "Oh, it's like that everywhere." No, it's not. I've lived other places.
Yeah.
I've lived in DC twice. I've lived in New Jersey, right next door to New York. I've lived in South Carolina. I mean, I've been around.
South Carolina, not even South Carolina is as unnecessarily difficult as Oklahoma.
Well, in the early days, it probably was, but my son was born down in South Carolina because my husband was in the Air Force, and we were right down there in Sumter, South Carolina, which is where James Clyburn came from. I knew the Clyburn a long time ago. I knew them back then. But I didn't know, and they didn't know because they were just young people, just like we were.
Yeah.
I was 19.
I've gotten to meet him twice now.
Yeah.
And he's really nice.
Yeah.
And
He is.
humble. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. And he's a smart guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
He actually told us the story about why he ended up endorsing Joe Biden. And it had to do with his wife telling him, "You have to endorse him." And it was the women in his family. And I'm just like, Black women.
Yes.
Saving the day.
That's right.
Well, wow, I think you're right. I mean, I think Black Ink has not gotten near as much recognition as it should. I mean, listening to like all of the programming and stuff that you guys do, I'm trying to figure out why it's not out there. You know what I'm saying? Like more. I don't know. That's kind
It
of just
should
hard.
be,
Yeah,
but,
I'm-
you know,
I'm trying to think like really.
it's
think.
under-resourced.
Yeah,
You know, if we had full,
but even being
support.
under resourced, like what you've been able to accomplish.
no,
with
but for
little-
politics,
yeah,
there's no other way to look at it.
yeah,
And we've had people who have experienced our work, who are well known in the financial and philanthropic businesses, who have gone on our behalf, and they were told no.
yeah,
And that's called racism. I hate to use that word, but that's it.
yeah.
It's right there in your face.
There's like no other explanation. I mean,
There is not.
That's interesting.
But we have mountains and hills yet to climb.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. I wish I had a magic wand and just wave it over everybody and say, okay, we're gonna get on the right path.
Right, right.
Here, let me wave my magic wand. There is no magic wand. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for today.
Okay.
But thank you for talking to me about Black Ink today.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and